Thank you, Doug. Yeah, I think I'm going to take just a quick minute to kind of let you guys know I love this microphone. Some things never change. Anyways, I did take kind of an abrupt break from here. And the only reason why I'm saying this is because Doug said something and it kind of sparked something. So I got overwhelmed and overloaded, which I all brought on myself. Because there's so many things that I want to do, and I think that maybe everybody in the room, or at least most of you guys, can relate. Where we want to do all this stuff and we want to do it now, and then we have unrealistic expectations. I get that often, and sometimes I got to put myself in check. Anyways, I took the break to reflect, review, and, pardon my French, get my shit straight. Another thing that I want to say, also, you guys are like family. I've missed the daylights out of you all. Some of you I don't know, but you'll get to know me. Anyways, also just briefly touch on recent events. I think it's important that we stay in communication with one another, even just a little stupid text message, because that's what led to the event of me going to the leadership meeting on Monday. I don't get a lot of social interaction, and then kiddo's back, so she's using my car temporarily until she gets her stuff straightened. So I get 10 minutes of real life conversation with another human being, a day, and then everything else is on my screen. But anyways, Miracle had sent me a text. I love Miracle to pieces, and then I sent, I briefly texted her back, and then the next day, and I think it's good just to have that communication, hey, I'm thinking about you. Even if that's something small, can make so big of a difference to another person. Sorry, I get in preach mode. Anyways, I wanted just to throw that out there because I feel like it's important, because a big thing for me in my recovery is my support network, and it's you guys. Anyways, whenever Doug asked me if I would speak, laid in bed, thinking, what's the message? What's changed? And this thing, and it's just been keeps on popping up in different forms. Nothing changes. Nothing gets better unless you do. Nothing changes for better or for worse unless you do. And in my case, me. I'm going to say something really brazen, and I hope it's not taken out of context. Drugs, alcohol, the behaviors, for me, weren't the problem. They are a problem. They're bad. Don't do them. But the root of my problem was in my heart. That I was inadequate and that I wasn't worthy to be loved. Growing up, my mother was abusive. My parents divorced when I was young, and I got transplanted to I lived with my grandparents, and we at the time, right before that, lived in Germany. My dad was in the military. So I got transplanted with these people that are my family, but I don't know them. And I'm the weird one, which I'm okay with. Now, back then I wasn't. Anyways, so just kind of fast forward. Whenever I was a teenager, first time I tried pot, and I was like, what's everyone getting all excited about this? This is nothing. And then looking back at it now, like doing the drugs, back then it was a way for me to feel accepted. You know, and just like, really? And then also another thing is that, you know, there's a difference between sobriety and recovery. You know, for me, and you guys can throw things at me if you want, sobriety was easy. I just change people, places, things, don't, you know, get the stimuli. You know, like, I can't go to a bar. I went to a bar last year on a date. We'll never do it again. I didn't drink, but the temptation was there. So that's something I know that's not a place I can go to. Anyways, you know, when I was younger, and I still do now, and I feel it's important, is to like read, you know, personal development books and like how to get better, you know, different things I can do. And like I did that for so long. And then in my 20s, I started using relationships to try to fill that void. And there was this guy that I dated, and he just treated me like a queen. Or so it seemed, and it was just like, wow, he's so amazing. But, there's always the but. Family's a big deal for me, even though my family's crazy. Even I am too, I'll admit it. You know, that like having relationships with family. Anyways, so one of the big things was for him, whenever I finally did get to meet his family, he didn't want me to tell them that I had a child. Because they were Catholic. I don't know anything about Catholicism, don't really care. But anyways, so that was the triggering event for me that led me to drinking, to turn to alcohol. And like, that was a way to numb the pain for me. I quit drinking eventually, and it took a long time. And then I started having problems with depression. And obviously, sorry, I'm kind of all over the place. But anyways, after the relationship ended, I was on like a drinking binge for God knows how many years. I quit drinking and got my life half in order, or at least I thought so at the time. And then I was having problems with depression, blah, blah, blah. So I went and got medical help, went and saw a doctor, and they were like, oh, you know that, you know, excess of drinking, like this is what, it changes the chemistry in your brain. And I'm like, okay. So I switched, I went from like a medication would work for a while, and then it would quit working, it would quit being effective. And then I just quit the medication route. Anyways, so the big turning point in my recovery, and I can pin it down to a single event, but I know there was a lot of little events that led to that. I was in an abusive relationship, and my depression got really bad, and at the time I didn't realize that it was anxiety. It got really bad where my mind was like running 1,000,000 miles a minute with the worrisome thoughts. And it was like, I always referred to it as a hamster on the wheel. Like, these thoughts would just repeat, and like, no matter what I did, I could not stop them. I'm just like, quiet, you know. And it was like, you aren't good enough, he's never gonna love you, you're never gonna be loved. On and on and on and on and on and on. Could not stop it. And my daughter was living with her father at the time, and I kind of felt like, well, not kind of, I felt like at that time my life had no purpose, no meaning. Like, she didn't need me. He thinks I'm trash. And then I got to the point where it was like I couldn't hang anymore. I didn't want to end my life, but I didn't want to keep going. That was the place where I was at. And I had been seeing a therapist, and part of, you know, crisis plan, and I think this is also an important thing in recovery, is to have a plan. So when something does happen, you're prepared and you know what the next step to take is. And for me, was to call the crisis line or to call her. I think it was a crisis line. I think I still have the information printed out somewhere. But anyways, I called the crisis line. They dispatched me to my therapist's office, because at this time I wasn't taking medication, because we were kind of like, is this genetic or is this environmental, what I was going through? Anyways, and I just told her I just can't keep going. And she's like, do you feel safe enough to drive? I'm like, yeah. She's like, okay, wait just 1 minute, don't go anywhere, I'm gonna put you on hold, I'll be right back. And then she said that she sent a police escort out. You know, the police was gonna come to take me to the hospital, because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know that you could like admit yourself. You know, if it was that easy, I would have saved myself an ambulance ride and whatnot. But anyways, so the cops came and they were like, well, what's going on? So I tell them, they're like, well, we can't take you unless you're like actually going to. And I'm like, okay, filing cabinet. I, you know, just took out, and I had attempted suicide in the past with pills, and it failed, thank God. So I used an old thought and just told him, because I wanted help. And I was admitted to the Stevens unit, and that's where things changed. It wasn't, medication helped, I'm not gonna lie about that, but what helped even more was all of those people that I was in the hospital with. I mean, there was, you know, I felt like I was crazy because I couldn't stop crying. There was other people that were hurting just like me, and they felt very similar to what I did. And we just listened to each other. And then from there, it was just like one thing after another. I admitted myself to Lafayette House, to the domestic violence side. And then from there, changed my clients, and the clients that I was working with, their family invited me to go to church with them. And it was really amazing to me that, like, these people that didn't know me just, like, open arms accepted me and just loved me. And then from there, I ran to Lisa at the doctor's office, and she told me about Saturday Night Live. And you guys are amazing. I'm so thankful for every single one of you. One of the things that, like, recently, that statement, nothing changes until you do, with the struggle with codependency and the whole boundary thing, is that my problems with other people are my problems. And it's up to me to change my behavior and how I interact with them. Yes.
That's the word good. Your problems.
My problems with other people are my problems. Because and I got to thinking about this. It's kind of crazy. Like, I don't think I have it mastered down to a science, but I'm a hell of a lot better than I used to be. Was that, like, this person's acting like this, like, whatever, like, abusing, whatever. But, you know, like, I get a choice. So does everybody here. We can choose to be a victim, or we can choose to overcome. And, like, it's really uncomfortable to, like, doing the overcoming thing, because it's like, what if I lose this job? What if I lose this client? What if I lose this relationship? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, wait a minute. You know, once we start changing ourselves, like our behaviors, how we look at things, you know, like there's a lot of stuff, like family stuff even, like certain interactions in my family, and, you know, realizing that, like, and that's their stuff, you know, and then also having, like, empathy, like where they came from, like how were they raised, what were their experiences. It's not an excuse by any means whatsoever at all, but it's like, okay, I get that, you know. And sometimes, like, sorry to be rambling, you know, sometimes it's, you know, changing the way that we communicate with other people, sometimes having to put distance. Yeah, I don't know. That was like the mind-blowing thing for me, was that, like, where I am right now and where I was last year, it's kind of crazy. And I'm just going to end on this also, because, like, 40 is approaching very, very soon. You ever get caught up in that comparison trap where, like, I should be here, and, like, everybody else and their dog and their grandma is, like, there? You know, recovery is not a destination, but it's a journey. You know, when we screw up, fall short, because we all do, I'm guilty, it's part of it is, it's our maintenance plan. It's checking it and getting back on track and knowing, you know, we're in a better place than what we used to be. So that's all I got. Thank you, guys.